Jenny. I'm the founder of Good Help, a Brooklyn-based digital strategy shop. We do a lot of things, but our specialty is in helping clients plan and manage social ad campaigns. Today, I'm so excited to grab a few minutes out of your busy day to share 3 key learnings from over $20 million in campaign spends. A special bonus, today we'll be discussing Facebook and Instagram, but these learnings are channel agnostic, so regardless of your social platform mix, these learnings will apply. Our first lesson is test small, learn big. A small upfront test campaign is something we recommend to all of our clients, especially clients who are running their first social ad campaign. It's the best way to establish performance benchmarks, and with less than $500 in spend, you can get a ton of learnings that will make your larger budget work even harder for you. It's also a great way to get intel about creative performance, so you'll know whether your existing assets work or if you need to invest in creating new custom assets for your spend. And finally, if you've never run a social ad campaign and you're faced with some skepticism about whether or not it's worth the investment, a small test budget is the perfect way to establish a proof of concept. Okay, so let's take a look at a sample test and learn campaign. The campaign you create will of course have different inputs, but by sharing this example and explaining why I've made these suggestions, I hope you'll be able to easily build your own. So first things first, you'll need to pick a goal. For the purposes of a test and learn campaign, I suggest only testing against one goal. I also suggest going after the most valuable goal, or at least a goal that you feel has real impact on your business. Most times this is purchases, but it can also be a goal like generating new email leads. It all depends on the nature of your business. Once you have your goal set, you'll need to figure out your budget. For upper to mid-funnel objectives like impressions, video views, or link clicks, you can make most budgets work, but to allow yourself to get enough data to really dive into, I'd recommend a minimum budget of $100 over a minimum of 2 to 3 days. The reason I recommend this is you want to get a high enough number of goal results so that when you dive into your audience, your placement, your creative performance, you have enough data to pull actionable insights. If you're going after a lower funnel objective, you'll want to give yourself both more budget and more time. The reason for this is lower funnel objectives like purchases or app downloads are more difficult to achieve, especially if this is your first social ad campaign. For a purchase campaign, I like to recommend a budget of at least 3 times the cost of the product you're trying to sell. To make things simple for today's discussion, we'll focus our test spend on one platform, Instagram. The added bonus of running on Instagram is that you can simultaneously run across Facebook, and your spend will optimize to the platform that's performing best automatically. Unless you have a channel-specific goal or you have intel that one platform is more valuable than the other, I recommend you take advantage of this capability. Next up are placements. So plug in your creative and see how it looks across all of the placements. Again, your spend will optimize towards what's doing best, so feel free to test everything and see what works best. Now let's talk audiences. This is one of the components of social ad campaigns that really sets them apart from ad campaigns on other channels. There are 3 types of audiences you can test, and I recommend you test at least 2 of these 3 so you can get an initial understanding of how your content and your ask is being received. The 3 types of audiences that exist in social ad campaigns are first, custom audiences. These are your first-party audiences like your email list, your site visitors, or people who have engaged with your Instagram account. Next audience type is lookalike audiences. These are audiences that are built using your first-party data, and they're people who look a lot like those owned audiences. They're kind of the magic of social ad targeting. Finally, we have interest-based audiences. These are based off of users' data and activity on the site. So pick at least 2 of these core audience types and you'll learn a whole lot. Finally, we have your creative. I recommend you test a minimum 2 creative options. If you're limited in your creative assets, you can simply test different copy or CTAs, but if possible, testing 2 different formats is recommended. So try a video against a carousel or an image. Because you have a limited budget, I do recommend that you limit how much creative testing you do. Otherwise, you can have such a big spread of variance that it's tough to really make sense of what did and didn't work. So if you're still not sure how you can get a ton of learnings from such a small spend, here's an example of a bunch of learnings I got from a $200 ad spend. Our goal was to increase site traffic, and we had no historical benchmark data to compare to. So right away, we now have both cost per click and CPM brand benchmarks that we can use to more accurately plan a bigger future spend. In this test campaign, we ran across both Facebook and Instagram. And as you can see here, Instagram was a clear winner, with 95% of the spend going to newsfeed placement on Instagram. In our audience testing, we didn't have a clear winner on performance across genders, but we did see the 18 to 34 age group drive the majority of goal results. And since we tested 3 types of audiences, we saw that custom, lookalike, and interest audiences all performed quite well. Finally, our creative testing showed that the carousel format worked much better than the image format, and that Learn More was a better CTA than Get Offer. This CTA learning might also mean that our audiences are not quite ready to purchase, as they seem to be considering the offer versus really being ready to act on it. So that's a lot of learnings, and it only took a $200 spend. Our next lesson is that a simple campaign can be very profitable. Maybe you've been overwhelmed by the jargon of social advertising, or you've only seen super complicated media plans for social ad spends. Either way, it's not always that complicated. You can simplify things a great deal by focusing on your most valuable goal first. There are absolutely times when a more complicated media plan is necessary, but if you're just starting out, keep it simple and focus on this one most valuable goal. Here's a plan I've written for tons of small businesses and startups. What did they have in common? Purchase was their most valuable business goal, so that's where we started. After we assigned the budget for purchase, we used the rest of the budget to fill their funnel. In this case, we're using a 60-40 split between the two objectives. This is, of course, not a hard rule, but this ratio is a great starting point. As we move through the rest of the plan, you'll see we start with qualified audiences like email subscribers and site visitors in our purchase campaign. And as we try to build the funnel with site traffic, we use lookalike audiences. This basic plan has been really valuable and a great starting point for many of my clients, and I hope it's helpful for you too. Our last lesson is that social ads can make a full funnel impact. This lesson is important because a lot of times there's pressure, especially if you run or work on the social aspect of your business, to make social be the hero. It's okay if you find through testing that social ads are just not making an impact on your sales, but I encourage you to see what other impacts they might be making that are valuable and easy to amplify through an ad spend. And finally, explore. Look beyond social-only metrics like likes, follows, and post engagements, and dive into metrics like email leads and site visits to better learn how social ad spend can improve your business.
Hey, I'm Lizzie from Later, and I'm here with Jenny McCoy. She's an advertising expert, and we're going to be chatting about the best ways to optimize your ads for social media. Okay, so for small businesses especially, every dollar obviously really counts, and a lot of small businesses aren't as familiar with this area for advertising on social. Do you think that it's something that they can learn easily on their own, or something that maybe is better to hire out?
I think it's a mix of both. I think it really helps when you're getting started to have someone holding your hand and showing you where to start. Depending on the complexity of the campaigns you're running, you can learn very quickly. I think the trouble that most people have is just knowing where to start.
Right, yeah, that makes total sense. And then another question I had was talking about content. So how important is great organic content to the ads process?
Great organic content, it can really work with paid in one of two ways. It can help to inform what creative you should run in your ads just based on how people have responded, but paid can also help inform what you should be focusing on on organic as well.
Okay, so does organic content typically perform really well in a paid environment then? Like, is it something where you look for content that has performed well that way and then maybe turn it into an ad?
It really depends on what your ultimate goal is, because a lot of organic content is more top of funnel. So if you're actually looking to drive a purchase, you might need to, have more direct language than you would use organically.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then we talked a little bit about $500 kind of being a good test amount to start out with. Have you seen success with campaigns that are around that number?
Yeah, totally. And it definitely depends on, for example, if you're going after purchase, the cost of the item. If it's a really expensive item, you're probably going to need a larger budget just because it's a longer purchase cycle and you're going to need to spend a little more time to reach people.
That makes a lot of sense. So a lot of the budget setting is around kind of the purchase price of the actual item that you're trying to sell.
Yeah, exactly. And also just how informed you already are about the consumer journey. So if you already know that if you get them on their email list and then you can retarget them, that's the route to go, then you have a shortcut and you're way ahead of a lot of other people.